Hi, I'm going to review my Dewalt DW735 Planer. These typically cost about 900 Canadian dollars. You can get them on special for 650, 600 Canadian dollars. I got mine for about 600. Busy Bee had them on special and Lowe's matched them. Canadian Tire at the moment have them on special. So wait around if you're looking to get one and you will find it on special. There's a few things I really like about this planer. Firstly is the surface finish. The surface finish is basically ready to be varnished, put Danish oil on, whatever you want to do. With European Beach, it's coming out as a beautiful satin finish. Sanding this really isn't going to do an awful lot more to clean it up, which is great. Secondly, we've got an adjustable speed feature. This is really cool. When the machine's running, the gearbox only allows you to change when the machine's running. You can do 179 cuts per inch or 96 cuts per inch for finishing. So you can choose between finishing or dimensioning. So when you're doing the 96 cuts per inch, it mows through the material much quicker. I don't really notice much of a difference in surface finish, but maybe if you're using softwoods, you would. European Beach is quite dense and quite hard, machines beautifully. So perhaps you might notice a difference, but I typically leave it in the finishing setting. It tends to put a little bit less load on the motor I notice, and I get fine swarf, which my dust collection system can deal with a bit better. Speaking of swarf, the dust collection is quite incredible. It's got a blower fan, which looks like a turbo out of a car, bolted straight on the back of the motor inside. This thing just, I'd say 70% of the noise of the planer is that fan. It's certainly able to overwhelm my 1 horsepower dust collector. I don't really need to turn on my 1 horsepower dust collector for it to completely inflate and function through my dust cyclone, but I put the dust collector on for fun. The volume of air coming out of this thing is enormous. Now, with the amount of swarf you're getting out of here as well, you do have to watch out for static. I'm using transparent PVC pipe, and you can easily generate 100,000 volts of static on this. So I cut up an extension cord and wrapped the ground wire all the way around the hose, and then I broke off the voltage pins, leaving only the ground pin, and stuck it into my power board. No more static problems. It's not much fun getting hit by 1,000 volts, 100,000 volts. You can feel the hair on your hand starts to rise up when you're about half a meter, 1.5 foot away from the hose or the machine. So definitely want to get some grounding on there. Another really great thing about this thing is just rock solid. It weighs, it says on here that it's 92 pounds, 42 kilos. It is a beast of a machine, which is really good because the heavier and stiffer and stronger it is, the better your surface finish, the more repeatable things are going to be. The height is adjusted on these giant lead screws, so it's just using a chain going around. Everything's really locked in, very even height across, which is just fantastic. The other thing I really like about this is how easy it is to maintain, change blades. I haven't needed to do that yet, but I have had a little bit of a play around. It comes with a tool which has a little pocket in the top. You've just got 4 bolts, they're Torx bolts. You unscrew the 4 of them, and inside you've got 3 thumb screws. So bright red, can't miss them. Under the thumb screws, lift up the dust panel, the dust collection hood, pull it off, and you've now got instant access to your blades. So super simple to get to changing your blades. Now the blades are double-sided as well, so you're getting double the blade life. The blades are expensive. People do complain about blade life, but personally I'm still getting the same finish that I was getting when I started. I'm using this 3-4 days a week. I've generated probably 300-400 litres of waste, which is a decent sized rubbish bin. As an example, this is 75 litres of swarf from this, which I can generate in about an hour. So I haven't put a tiny amount of wood through it, and I am only doing hardwood. I've been really happy with the blades so far. There have been some reviews I've seen of people on forums complaining about the blade life, but I'm really happy with it. And the fact that I can just flip the blades over and I've got a new edge, pretty cool. Now the power on this thing is quite good. It does have a chart on the front here saying at what depth, how wide you can go, which is kind of cool. I have this plugged into a power board, which is got a 10 amp breaker in it. I've popped that a couple of times, and I haven't even hit the limits of this. So you really want this. It says it's a 15 amp at 110 volts, 120 volts. So I'd say it can easily do 15 amps. And when I can get it to the point that it's popping the breaker in my power board, it's not actually getting to the point where it really sounds like it's bogging down. Using, say, the rigid or Ryobi $200 planers, you can really hear them start to bog down really early on. So this is doing double the thickness, and it's not really even noticing it. Now, there are a few things which I find a bit average. This measurement tape on the front is basically pointless. The red gauge is too far away from the tape, so it doesn't matter. The angle you look at it on is going to vary what measurement you see greatly. Now, if you look at it flat and level, which is where it should be set, it has no relation to the wood thickness that is coming out, or the wood thickness which is going in. So I don't use it. What I'll do is I'll grab my piece of wood and I'll push it all the way in. I can feel that's hitting the cutter. So I back this off until I can feel it just grabbing, and back it off tiny bit more, bring it out, and then start from there, measuring with calipers each time I go. Now I'm looking for plus or minus 0.02 millimeters, which is I think about thousandths of an inch. So I'm looking for pretty precise measurements here, and the gauges and stops on this really aren't designed to be precise. But the good news is that it is a precise machine, it's just the measurements are terrible. I can get every single time my wood within 0.01 millimeters, basically every time, which is fantastic. So it does have this other gimmicky rubbish feature with measurements. Over here you've got a depth stop, which you can set to various heights. So if I say I want this to be, a quarter of an inch, so the maximum I want this to be able to drop down is a quarter of an inch or half an inch, I can wind this, I can set that and then wind this down. It's meant to be repeatable, but quite honestly, the amount of play you get in the handle, being able to move it up or down, you're probably looking at a millimeter, a tenth of an inch even, a 20th of an inch of movement going up and down once you hit that depth stop. It's not a precision thing. I mean, if you're just framing up a house or making planks to stick on a wall or something, sure, but if you're actually trying to get pretty precise bits of wood, utterly useless. I just put it on its minimum setting and don't bother with it. Now, there are some things I am a bit disappointed with on this. Firstly, for a $900 machine, I kind of expect to get the table extensions with it. This is a bit disappointing. It's there are $80 at Busy Bee Tools to get the table extensions. It really does do a lot better with them. If you read forums, there's a couple of solutions for snipe. Now that is another thing which I'm not so happy with, is when pretty much every planer is going to give snipe. It's got a roller here and a roller here. It's got a front and a back roller which pushes the wood down. So when you've got the rollers pushing your wood down, the wood's getting pushed down, and in the middle is the cutting head. So when it goes into the machine, it's able to flop around a bit. I don't actually find I really notice any snipe going into the machine. It's like maybe once every 50 pieces of wood I'll notice that it's just a little bit of snipe. Snipe is about 50 millimeters long, 2 inches. For those who don't know what snipe is and have no idea what I'm talking about, snipe is when you're cutting the wood and the last or first however much distance is thinner than the rest, because, as I was saying, you've got the rollers. When you come off the last roller, so the first roller here, when the wood's going all the way through, it then drops off. So essentially you've got the rear roller and the cutter. So when you're on the rear roller, now the weight of your wood hanging out of the machine lifts up, and suddenly your cutting head is now able to cut a deeper cut. So you lose some extra material off here. There's a few things you can do to fix that, or to at least limit it. This ruler is nice and thin, so I can demonstrate. So as you're going through the machine, you get to the last bit, you grab it with one hand here and the other hand here, and I tend to hold this hand just a little bit above, so that's just lifting the wood up a tiny bit, and then this one you're lifting up quite strongly. So basically you're pushing this end down into the table as it goes under the cutting head. I'll usually wait until I watch the machine, so I'll stand around the side and watch the wood until it gets to about here, or wait a second and then do that. And keep on pulling so it doesn't get caught. Otherwise, the machine can mangle the end a little bit if you don't keep on pulling it through. Some people have said in general for planers that if you push one piece through and then you push another piece through immediately behind it, because the roller has got a constant thickness, it doesn't change the head height or anything. I don't find that works with this machine, at least not with the wood I'm using, or the sizes which I'm working on. Simply because the rear lip on the planer is really no higher than the internals. So if I have a long piece of wood, and I'm cutting 10-foot lengths of wood on this, so about 3 meters, there's a significant amount of weight on that, even when I'm dealing with something like this, which is 10 millimeters by 25 millimeters. So it drops down and it gets caught on that back lip because there's nothing underneath the lip. So it ends up sticking down like this, and then the other piece of wood comes in behind it and it just jams the machine up. It's still running, it's just the wheels are spinning on the piece of wood in the machine, and you can't get the other piece out, so you have to stop it, lift the head, back it all off, pull this piece out, then run this piece through again, which is not ideal. And the amount of noise this makes is tremendous. As I was saying, the fan makes most of the noise. The noise it makes sounds like a turbo fan running. And, I guess that's the price you've got to pay for the amount of extraction and suction you've got in there. And the fact that that's going to make sure the blades last longer, and you're not going to have material getting double cut and stuff. So it is very, very loud though. It's at least 3 times as loud as my dust collection system. Like, you can't even hear my dust collection system when this thing is on. Cutting, it does, it sounds like a planer, but that doesn't really increase the volume too much, simply because that fan is just so loud. Finally, I have had some issues with the wood slipping, or rather the roller slipping on the wood. This European beech is just silky smooth. So I was having a problem the other day where the rollers had a lot of dust built up on them, and the bed was getting a bit slick, or rather getting a bit rough, or it just wasn't sliding very well, so the material was getting stuck on it. So I lifted the head all the way up, got the brush in there, brushed off the rollers a whole bunch, helped a lot, still wasn't quite getting it, it was still slipping occasionally. So what I did was, you get some car wax, some Meg's Ultimate Paste Wax, and just smear it all over the bed, let it dry. I actually used some quick detailer to clean it up first, just to get the whatever was on there off, and then let that dry, polish it off, put some paste wax on there, polish it off with a microfiber cloth. That did the trick. It's just super slick now. So I also do that with the bandsaw. You can do it with bandsaw blades. It makes the machine not make any noise anymore. Paste wax is great around the workshop. Makes things nice and slick. So that really helped. So guess general maintenance would be just cleaning off those rollers and making sure that the bed is nice and slick. Then I don't really have any issues. Like I said, I haven't gone through a blade yet. Haven't noticed any defects from the blade. Some people have said they've got chipping and stuff, but I'm not running nails through it, so I don't really notice. Yeah, very happy with it. It's doing a great job. Would recommend it, but I'd say wait until it's on special, because otherwise it is a little bit expensive for what it is.